What's up, guys? So, I just got done watching Travis Knight's 2026 Masters of the Universe reboot in theaters, and I thought that I could create a watch list for anyone who is planning on seeing this movie as their first real introduction to the larger Masters of the Universe franchise, or MOTU for short. Now, obviously, since this film is a reboot, it is designed to act as a gateway for modern audiences who may know absolutely nothing about He-Man or this universe. But if you're like my girlfriend and you like to do your homework before checking out something new, then this video is for you. Or if you've already seen the new movie and you're interested in learning more about He-Man, then this video is also for you. I'm going to walk you guys through 3 different watch lists. One that is meant to be a quick crash course, one that is meant to be watched as research before seeing the new movie, and another that is meant to serve as a deep dive after seeing Travis Knight's reboot. The before the movie watch list is catered to the kind of audience that, whenever they hear about a new adaptation of a book they've never read before, they immediately want to do their homework and read the original novel before seeing the movie. Ha! Gay! That watch list is for that specific kind of audience. Whereas the after the movie watch list is tailored for the audiences who basically walked away from the new movie saying, I like what I saw and I want to see more. Where do I start? And as someone who's been a fan of He-Man for years, I wanted to make watch lists that didn't overwhelm newcomers, but still gave them a solid taste of what makes this franchise so weird, colorful, and genuinely awesome. Also, if this is your first time coming across my channel, I normally make video essays about writing techniques, along with rewrites and pitches for movies and TV shows. In fact, this isn't even the first time I've talked about He-Man. A couple of years ago, I made a video imagining an entire live-action 80s cinematic universe that brought He-Man and She-Ra together with Transformers, G.I. Joe, Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, Voltron, and more. I also made another video pitching my own version of a live-action He-Man reboot, years before we got Travis Knight's version. Wow! So, after you are done here, feel free to check out those videos. I'll have them linked down below. For now though, let's answer the first question every new fan is going to have. Where do I start? When it comes to He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, there have been several reboots and numerous animated shows between now and He-Man's original debut in 1983. There's the classic 80s cartoon where all began, followed by the 1990 sequel series known as The New Adventures of He-Man. That one is less of an essential viewing and more of a fun little what-if story that asks what would happen if He-Man and Skeletor were both zapped into the future and dropped into a more distinct sci-fi setting that feels a lot more like He-Man meets Star Wars. Then, there's the 2002 reboot of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and in recent years, Netflix has produced 2 different reboots of the franchise. The first is a 3D animated show released in 2021, which literally has just the exact same name as the past shows, but it's aimed at a primarily younger audience, usually grade school kids. The second is the 2D animated show created by Kevin Smith, which is meant to act as a sequel to the original 80s cartoon and is written for a much older and more mature audience. There's also the 1987 live-action MOTU film starring Dolph Lundgren, but we're not really going to talk about that one, as we're focusing more on the animated side of MOTU's history. Now, obviously, not all of these shows and films are necessary viewing for anyone who wants to prep for Travis Knight's new live-action movie. So, these 3 watch lists are basically a guide on what to watch, what to skip, and how to watch it. Here's our first list. The crash course. If you're super busy or you just want a simple, quick, time-friendly crash course on He-Man, then I would highly recommend just watching the first 3 episodes of the 2002 show titled The Beginning Parts 1 through 3. Each episode is only 23 minutes long, so altogether you're looking at about an hour and 9 minutes, which is basically like watching a short feature-length film.
Damn! I'm sorry.
These 3 episodes are perfect for getting you caught up to speed on the backstory of Prince Adam, his motivations as a character, how he got his powers, how he transformed into He-Man, and the general premise of the world of Eternia. They also give you a clear understanding of the main conflict, He-Man and his allies fighting to protect the secret powers of Castle Grayskull from his arch nemesis, Skeletor. If you have Amazon Prime, you can stream the 2002 show there. Or, if you don't have Prime, you can always do a 30-day free trial as well. The weird thing though is that parts 1 and 2 are currently unavailable due to expired rights, so you'd only be able to watch part 3 and just have to live with watching the recap at the beginning filling you in on the first 2 episodes. But if you're old school like me, you can just order yourself a DVD copy and watch the entire show with no problem. Now, the main reason why I recommend these 3 episodes from the 2002 show as your crash course and not the original 80s show itself really comes down to 2 reasons. The first reason is because the 2002 show really hits that sweet spot of honoring the original 80s mythos while still meeting the storytelling expectations of a more modern audience. It was clearly made for kids, but it was also made for the adults who grew up watching He-Man in the 80s and were now introducing the franchise to their own children through this reboot. Because of that, the show is appealing to 2 different age groups at the same time and has this mature yet family-friendly epic tone that helps make it feel like a much more accessible entry point for modern viewers who are new to He-Man. The second reason is because the original 80s show never really gives you a proper origin story for He-Man. It just drops you right in the middle of the story where He-Man, Eternia, Skeletor, and their larger conflict are already established. The closest thing you get to an origin story is the opening title sequence, because back then, it was pretty normal for cartoons to summarize the show's entire premise in the opening titles. The idea was that, regardless of whether you were watching episode 1 or episode 100, the intro would catch you up to speed so you could jump into any episode at any time and still understand exactly what was going on. Now, before we get into the before the movie watch list, I have a quick disclaimer. If you only have time for the crash course right now, that is totally fine. Watch those first 3 episodes of the 2002 show, go see the new movie, and if you really end up liking it and want to sink your teeth a little deeper into the MOTU franchise, then you can come back to this video and skip ahead to the timestamp you see here on the screen. It'll take you to the after the movie watch list, where you can get into some really cool He-Man mythos that may be too confusing or overwhelming for someone who is brand new to the MOTU series. But if you've got some spare time on your hands before you go see the new film, and you want to binge more than just 3 episodes to get the full rundown of Eternia and all of the supporting characters, here's a more in-depth watch list that combines several arcs from multiple shows to curate one comprehensive watch guide that contains all of the most important plot lines and story arcs. For the 2002 show, your best bet, aside from buying a DVD copy, is to stream it on Amazon Prime, while the best place to watch any of the 80s episodes is on YouTube. Before the movie. So for our first entry, you're going to start off in the same place as our crash course by watching the beginning, parts 1 through 3 from the 2002 reboot. After that, watch the episode Battlecat from the original 80s show to get a better understanding of Cringer, his friendship with Adam, and how he became He-Man's partner Battlecat. Next, you can start digging into Orko's character with the 2002 show's 7th episode, titled Lessons, followed by the 80s episode Trouble in Teela. Lessons gives you Orko's backstory, explains how he first befriended Adam, and serves as a really good character study for him. Meanwhile, Trouble in Teela gives you a deeper look into Orko's homeworld and his species.
To bring him back to life. He-Man would be back, and I'd be regular Orko again? Absolutely. Yeah, but then that happened.
From there, you'll want to check out The Rainbow Warrior and Prince Adam No More from the 80s show. These 2 episodes help flesh out Adam's parents, King Randor and Queen Marlena, while giving you a much better understanding of Adam's relationship with both of them. Now we can get into what I personally think are the two strongest storylines from the 2002 show, the Teela Sorceress arc and the Snake Men arc. The only complication is that the show bounces back and forth between these two storylines, so you're basically forced to watch them at the same time if you want everything to unfold in chronological order. First, you're going to start with Teela's arc in episode 9, The Ties That Bind, where you learn that Teela is secretly the Sorceress's daughter. Then, you will begin the Snake Men arc with episode 21, Snake Pit, which introduces them as an ancient race of conquerors who once ruled over Eternia. As a quick side note, you don't necessarily have to watch episode 24, Separation, but it does offer a really cool explanation for Eternia's light and dark hemispheres. Specifically, why one half of the planet is all charred and scorched, while the other half is really lush, healthy, and beautiful. So, I'd only recommend adding Separation to the watch list if you're really starting to dig the lore of Eternia and want to learn as much as possible. But getting back to Teela and the Snake Men, after Snake Pit, you're going to jump back into Teela's arc with Out of the Past. This is where the show really starts making you question whether this version of Man-at-Arms is actually Teela's biological father or merely her foster dad. From there, you're going to leapfrog back into the Snake Men storyline with Rise of the Snake Men Parts 1 through 2, where King Hiss and the rest of his people are finally released from their enchanted prison. You will then return to Teela's arc with Web of Evil and Rattle of the Snake, which introduces Fisto, Man-at-Arms' estranged brother and a potential candidate for Teela's biological father.
I'd sure like to fist him. What?
Finally, you're going to wrap up the Snake Men arc with The Power of Grayskull, which explains the origins of Castle Grayskull and He-Man's Sword of Power, followed by the series finale, Awaken the Serpent. That episode showcases the final battle between He-Man and the Snake Men as they revive their primordial patron god, Serpos. It's all pretty cool stuff if you ask me. Now, you could stop there and just call it a day, but if you've really got extra time on your hands, you can also check out both seasons of Kevin Smith's MOTU show on Netflix. Season 1 is called Revelation, and it follows Teela as she tries to stop magic from dying out across Eternia after He-Man and Skeletor disappear in the first episode. However, the first half of the season was pretty controversial, and a lot of viewers didn't like the bait and switch technique the show used with He-Man. So, if you're not interested in watching Teela as the main character and would prefer to stick with He-Man as the main lead, I would suggest skipping ahead to episode 6, Cleaved in Twain, where the focus shifts back to He-Man. You can watch the recap I've linked down below to fill you in on the first 5 episodes if that's the route you want to go in. From there, you can move on to Season 2, which is titled Revolution. That storyline focuses on the Horde's invasion of Eternia and essentially sets up a potential crossover between He-Man and She-Ra. As a He-Man fan, I really appreciate how much Kevin Smith's show fleshed out these characters and their world by taking them in directions the franchise had never really attempted before. It explores questions fans have been asking since the 80s, like, what would happen if He-Man's secret identity as Prince Adam was exposed? What if Skeletor finally gained the power of Grayskull? What would happen if Teela officially became the new Sorceress? And how exactly does the combination of magic and technology work on Eternia? Despite how divisive the first half of Revelation was, I really think the show found its stride halfway through Season 1. Neither Kevin Smith's series nor the 2002 reboot is perfect by any means, and both have creative decisions involving characters and plotlines that I don't personally agree with, but in terms of animation, I still consider them peak He-Man storytelling.
Damn!
It's really difficult to get the tone right for a modern He-Man story, which is something I noticed when drafting my own pitch for a He-Man film. Older fans always want a serious sword and sorcery stakes story, but He-Man's roots as an 80s toy line also makes the franchise unavoidably ridiculous and campy in the most childish ways. Somehow, both the 2002 show and Kevin Smith's Netflix show managed to strike that balance between heart, comedy, action, and epic fantasy while still remaining faithful to the original source material, which is pretty impressive. So, at the end of the day, the 2002 reboot and Kevin Smith's Netflix series are still my two favorite animated versions of He-Man. So that's my before the movie watch list. If you're using this video to prepare for Travis Knight's reboot, you can stop here, go watch the movie, and then come back afterward.
Quick! Everyone to the monitor! Now! Go! Go, 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 go!
But if you've already seen it and you're ready to dig even deeper into the world of He-Man, then let's move on to the after the movie watch list. Alright, now that you've seen the new movie and you're ready to dig deeper into the MOTU franchise, I'm going to divide this part of the watch list into two categories: backstories and story arcs. The backstories category is for anyone who wants to learn more about the individual characters featured in Travis Knight's film. You don't have to watch every episode on this list in order. You can just simply pick and choose which characters caught your interest and jump straight into their recommended episodes. The story arcs category, on the other hand, is for anyone who wants to get into the real nitty-gritty of the He-Man mythos. Instead of focusing on one character at a time, this section will guide you through some of the larger storylines, conflicts, and pieces of lore that I think are the most engaging across the different MOTU shows. Backstories. For anyone interested in seeing more of Teela and her dad, Man-at-Arms, these two usually come as a package deal in most of He-Man stories, so their arcs tend to be intertwined. The most common storyline focuses on Teela following in her mother's footsteps as the next Sorceress of Castle Grayskull, while Man-at-Arms has to come to terms with his daughter embracing that destiny.
Maybe this time, Teela won't become the Sorceress.
Wow, you actually just said that.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
There are currently about 3 different versions of this arc across the animated shows. The first appears in the 80s show and consists of 2 episodes, Teela's Quest and Teela's Triumph. The second version comes from the 2002 reboot and consists of The Ties That Bind, Out of the Past, Web of Evil, and Rattle of the Snake. The third version can actually serve as an almost seamless continuation of the 2002 storyline. By watching both seasons of Kevin Smith's Netflix show, you get the ultimate payoff of Teela finally unlocking her full potential and officially claiming the title of Sorceress. So, for the quick and easy version, just watch the 2 episodes from the 80s show, but for a more complete narrative, watch the 4 episodes from the 2002 show, followed by the Masters of the Universe Revelation and Revolution seasons. Any fans of Adam's pet tiger Cringer will want to check out the 80s episode Battlecat. This episode explains how Cringer followed in his best friend's footsteps and transformed into the mighty warrior known as Battlecat so that he could fight alongside He-Man.
And is that Battlecat?
No, Battlecat is armor. That's just Cringer.
Then why is he looking heroic and brave?
Well, Cringer does have his moments.
Cringer's one defining character trait is that he's a pussy.
I know Orko only got a cameo in the 2026 film's post-credit PSA, but if you want to learn more about him, I'd recommend starting with the 2002 episode Lessons. This is basically a character spotlight that explores Orko's backstory, his insecurities, how he became friends with Adam, and what makes him so special. After that, you can watch the 80s episode Trouble in Trala, which gives you a deeper look at Orko's species and his homeworld. If you want to know more about what the Sorceress's deal is, where she got her powers, and how she became the protector of Castle Grayskull, there are 2 different versions of her origin story you can watch. The 80s version is featured in the episode Origin of the Sorceress, while the 2002 version is told in The Power of Grayskull. For anybody who wants to know more about Skeletor's backstory and where he comes from, he actually has several different origins depending on which version of the franchise you are watching. Sometimes he's a demon from another dimension. Sometimes he's also King Randor's bastard half-brother. And sometimes he's just an upstart warlord born and raised on Eternia as one of the Gar, who are basically Eternia's version of Dark Elves. Unfortunately, none of those origins are fully explored in the original 80s cartoon. The closest thing you get is the He-Man and She-Ra crossover Secret of the Sword, but even that only gives you a partial backstory for Skeletor.
No voice, no nah, I've been screwed!
The 2002 reboot is the first animated version to provide a proper on-screen explanation of Skeletor's origins through The Beginning, Parts 1 through 2, and The Price of Deceit. That last episode also double dips as a really good origin story for Evil-Lyn, so you get both characters for the price of one. The only thing I would recommend is that before watching The Price of Deceit, you should watch Lessons, which is episode 7 from the 2002 show, because it's not only an Orko spotlight, it also kind of sets up Evil-Lyn's backstory in The Price of Deceit. So kind of think of Price of Deceit and Lessons as a 2-episode package deal that gives you the complete Evil-Lyn backstory for the 2002 version. Kevin Smith's Netflix show has its own versions of Skeletor and Evil-Lyn's backstories, but because the series is heavily serialized, you can't really skip around and jump cold turkey into the specific episodes that contain the info you just happen to be looking for. What you're going to need to do is watch both seasons to get the full picture. Evil-Lyn's backstory is basically spread throughout all of Revelation, while Skeletor's history is gradually revealed across multiple episodes in Revolution. For anyone who wants to dig deeper into Prince Adam's parents, King Randor and Queen Marlena, there's 2 episodes from the 80s show I would recommend. The first is from Season 1's 29th episode titled Prince Adam No More, which pretty much sums up Adam's complicated relationship with his father. Randor really loves his son, but because he doesn't know that Adam is He-Man, he often sees him as irresponsible and disappointing.
I'm sure you'll be happy here, Dad.
So, this is me placing an order for some spicy nachos, some guacamole, wouldn't mind that on the side if you don't mind the mild kind, cause...
You'll observe lights out, or I'll knock your lights out. Take that in.
The second episode is The Rainbow Warrior, which gives us more of Queen Marlena's backstory and shows how her and Randor first got together. It also features Marlena, who was originally an astronaut from Earth, suiting up and rescuing the heroes after they've all been captured by Skeletor.
Okay, because...
Depending on how you feel about Kristen Wiig's portrayal of Roboto, you may or may not find it polarizing to know that the character has actually been voiced by men traditionally before the 2026 film.
I think that's Roboto.
Roboto? This
He was kind of, part of the crew.
Even you don't believe that.
Either way, Roboto has 2 different origin stories you can check out if you are interested. The first comes from the 80s show in the episode Happy Birthday Roboto, while the second episode appears in the 2002 reboot's Roboto's Gambit. Both will give you different interpretations of how Roboto was created and how he became one of Eternia's heroes. For any new fans of Ram Man who want to get to know him better, the best way to do that is to watch the 80s episode Not So Blind and the 2002 episode Siren's Song. Both showcase how much of a softie and how loyal of a friend Ram Man really is beneath his tough exterior. Mekaneck is one of those characters who has always been treated like a joke because his powers seem kinda lame. However, the 80s episode Search for a Son gives him a surprisingly wholesome and humanizing backstory. After that, the 2002 episode Mekaneck's Lament serves as the perfect follow-up because it focuses on Mekaneck's own self-awareness that he may be the weakest member of the team. Together, these 2 episodes do a great job of turning what could have been a one-note gimmick character into somebody you can actually relate to and root for. For anybody who wants to know more about Fisto, I would recommend starting with the 80s episode Fisto's Forest. This is where He-Man meets Fisto for the first time, with the character initially starting off as a villain before ultimately redeeming himself and becoming a hero. There's also the 2002 version of Fisto's introduction, which takes place across Web of Evil and Rattle of the Snake. In this version, Fisto is a disgraced soldier, man-at-arms estranged brother, and a possible candidate for Teela's biological father. The only complication is that both episodes take place in the middle of the Snake Men storyline while also paying off major parts of Teela's arc. So, if you don't mind jumping cold turkey into the middle of an ongoing storyline just to get the lowdown on Fisto, you can watch those 2 episodes on their own. But if you want the full context and you don't want to feel lost, I would recommend following the complete before the movie watch list that I went over earlier in this video. And lately, in MOTU media, it seems like Mossman is becoming just like Cliffjumper from Transformers, where every new adaptation seems to do him dirty by only giving him a single scene for the sole purpose of killing him off. I know Mossman's role in the 2026 He-Man film was pretty anticlimactic, but if anyone is interested in seeing a competent and badass version of the character, I would highly recommend watching the 2002 episode Orko's Garden. That episode really demonstrates how powerful Mossman is and shows that he's basically Eternia's version of Swamp Thing. Orko's Garden is probably the strongest portrayal of Mossman throughout the entire franchise. So, hopefully, if you are new to He-Man, this episode can redeem the character for you and show you just how formidable of a hero he is supposed to be. Okay, that pretty much covers the individual backstories for the characters featured in Travis Knight's reboot. Now, let's shift gears away from the character spotlights and get into the larger story arcs and plot lines that I think are the most engaging across the different MOTU animated shows. For our first major storyline, I would recommend checking out the Snake Men arc from the 2002 show. You're going to want to start with Season 1's Episode 21, Snake Pit, which introduces the Snake Men as an ancient race of humanoid serpents who once conquered Eternia and are now threatening to return. What makes this arc worth checking out is how seriously the show treats the Snake Men as a valid threat. They don't just show up as another group of villains for He-Man to fight for a few episodes. They actually overthrow Skeletor, force him out of Snake Mountain, and establish themselves as the dominant threat in Season 2. That arc also takes a lot of the scattered ideas, characters, and lore surrounding the Snake Men from the original 80s action figures and mini-comics and streamlines them into one massive cohesive epic. After Snake Pit, continue with Season 2's Rise of the Snake Men Parts 1 through 2. These episodes see King Hiss and the rest of the Snake Men finally get released from their enchanted prison, allowing them to begin their full-scale conquest of Eternia. From there, you're going to watch the Season 2 episode, The Power of Grayskull. This episode tells the story of He-Man's ancestor, King Grayskull, as he fights his final battle and explains the origins of Castle Grayskull, the Sorceress, and He-Man's Sword of Power. The Snake Men are more of a footnote in this episode, but it's still connected to their arc on a thematic and historical level. Finally, you are going to finish the arc with the last 2 episodes of Season 2, Rattle of the Snake and Awaken the Serpent. These episodes showcase the final battle between He-Man and King Hiss in a pretty climactic way. Despite this finale being the premature ending to the 2002 reboot, you honestly do get enough closure to feel pretty satisfied with not just the Snake Men arc, but the entire show as well. So, if we treat Travis Knight's 2026 film as Phase 1 of our After the Movie watch list, then the Snake Men arc can serve as our Phase 2. Next, we can move into Kevin Smith's MOTU series on Netflix. Even though the show was created as a direct sequel to the original 80s cartoon, I think it also works surprisingly well as a spiritual successor to the 2002 reboot. As I mentioned before, this show does a great job of digging deeper into the He-Man mythos by making some pretty bold choices and taking the story in new directions, while still remaining faithful to the source material. Season 1 is called Revelation, and Season 2 is called Revolution. Both are available to stream on Netflix, and together, they can serve as our Phase 3 of this larger viewing experience. To finish off the watch list, I would recommend ending with a He-Man and She-Ra crossover. Both Travis Knight's 2026 film and Kevin Smith's Netflix series tease the possibility of She-Ra appearing in their respective sequels. But for now, neither storyline has given us that full crossover. So, in the meantime, the best option is the 5-part arc, The Secret of the Sword, which serves as both the original on-screen crossover between He-Man and She-Ra, and serves as the first 5 episodes of the 80s She-Ra cartoon. This arc introduces Adora, explains how she was captured as a baby from Eternia, and follows her transformation into She-Ra as she turns against the Horde. It's the perfect way to expand beyond Eternia and finish the watch list by introducing the other major half of the larger MOTU universe. Just like all the other 80s episodes, you can find Secret of the Sword on YouTube. So, whether you're using this list to prepare for the new movie, or you've already seen it and you're looking for your next adventure in Eternia, hopefully this video gave you a good place to start. And if you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more video essays about storytelling and big franchises like the He-Man franchise, go ahead and subscribe. You can also become a more active member of this community by supporting the channel through Patreon. All of that support goes directly towards paying my editors and helping me release videos more consistently. Until next time.
And so I cried sometimes when I'm lying in bed.